Hi, I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna. We're the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show.
We're also the creators of the Cognomovement system, where we help you rewire your nervous system so you can rewire your reality.
Join us each week for great conversations, amazing guests, and cutting-edge information on health, consciousness, and the keys to transformation.
Welcome to the show. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
Hey, Bill McKenna. So Bill's been doing a ton of research this week about cell phones, and that when cell phones were invented and in high use, what the rates of anxiety and depression were in teens and what they are now. And the correlation is astounding. What we're finding is that the eye position that people are using when using cell phones may be directly related and correlated to the use of devices and screen time. So Bill, share with everybody what you found and also how important this knowledge of eye position and what to do to counteract it is to our entire lives and to the next generations.
I mean, this is absolutely huge. And actually, the journey of this started in 2009. I met my first, well, not my first, but a teacher that was a master NLP practitioner like Liz Larson. I seem to gather around these people in my life. And at that time, there was talk about if your eyes are down, then this is the position that activates a certain part of the brain that's associated with sadness, introspection. You know, you're looking inward. And I just immediately thought to myself, this was 2009, I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to have an epidemic of people who are just really in bad shape, very sad, very depressed, very anxious. And I even mentioned it to this teacher, and it was like, I don't know, maybe that seems logical. Well, fast forward to today, and now with the help of the database from the CDC, from the WHO, World Health Organization, and also because of the fact that there are open sources which show how much time children, teenagers specifically, are spending on their phones. There is an amazing correlation in between the two. And this is just certainly, there can be many reasons for it, but the reason that makes the most physical sense is where one's eyes are when they're looking at their phone. It's very, very simple. It's downward. Everybody knows this. You know, look anywhere. Nobody is holding their phone over their head and looking at it unless they're taking a selfie. But we know not only that this downward eyes stimulates that part of the brain stem, and also these feelings, these negative feelings that one might have. But now the data is plated out. We'd like to share with everybody two graphs that are going to show what actually has happened to the teenagers in the United States. So this first graph that I'm showing right now is actually utilizing data from the Pew Research Center, Common Sense Media, and also projected trends. This is daily screen time on smart devices among teenagers in the United States from 2007 through 2025. Now, it's broken down into the years across the bottom. In 2007, that was a very important year in that it was when Apple had introduced the iPhone. At that time, screen time was less than 2 hours. That is 2 hours per day. Now, up the other side of this graph, it shows all the way up to 10 hours. It is a slide that goes almost perfectly from that 2 hours-ish all the way up to just about 10 hours. So just below 2 hours, all the way to just below 10 hours a day. The significance of this is that their eye position is in a downward position for 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day, if you think about it, how many hours in any given day are you awake? There's 24 hours in a day. Now, most people sleep 8 hours. So for most of the waking days, someone's eyes are in the downward position. And we know from where a person is looking, it activating particular parts of the brain. So that is an awful lot of time wiring into that introspection, that inward looking part of our brain that's also associated with sadness and anxiety.
Well, I just want to point out here too that it isn't just sadness and anxiety. You've got people, and it's not just teens, but teens and small children even looking at a screen in the eyes in the down position. In the down position, it's not just sadness and anxiety, but it's really all your emotions and your feelings. In Cognomovement, we have people move their eyes down to connect with how they're feeling on any subject. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that this is how we connect. If you think about it, if you cut your finger, you know what you did. You may have seen the paper cut it, let's say. You got to look at it, see what's going on, right? If you stub your toe, you know you stubbed it. You may not even be able to see it through your shoe, but you got to look down, right? Our eyes connect with our body to see what is happening in the body. How do we feel? This is the part of the brain that takes in and processes that information. So here's something really interesting to think about. You've got ads, you've got videos, you've got other people sharing fake, amazing lives. You know, people don't share the worst part of their lives. They share the best part of their lives. They share things that are not true or not real. And so every hour that a young person or any person is online viewing those things, they're viewing them in a state where it all goes into my emotion. This is how I feel about me. This is all about me. They're not looking at it with the part of their eyes that connect to logical mind, right? Or new perspectives. They're not looking at it with ideas and inspiration. They're looking at it through the lens of this has everything to do with me and my body and how I feel and who I am as a human. And so the insidious part is a lot of the things that are on these cell phones and devices are intended to make us feel a little bit like bad about ourselves, so we need what we're being offered. The answer to that way you're feeling about your body right now is this wingding pill, or this fancy dancy new technology, or this amazing workout program, right? So we're constantly in this state of being shown people who are unrealistic, then shown our problems, and then being shown solutions for them. It's just round and round and round. And you realize that kids, if you were, let's say, 5 years old in 2007, you know, and now in 2025, you're an adult, you would have been raised with that at least a couple of hours a day, which is long enough, up to 10 hours a day. Now our teens and our young adults are spending that time not just on social media, but also on tablets and computers for schoolwork, for studying, for research, for everything they need to do is focused in this eye position that is not only down, but very center. It's a very, very limited eye position. And I want to propose one more thing. So often you see now little kids, a year old up on a tablet, right? So that the parent can keep them quiet, entertained, but also still. So what we know about humans is that our body movement has everything to do with our brain health. That a child who doesn't crawl often will have learning disabilities. There are connections that are not made. Children who are deprived of light or sound or movement often have developmental disabilities. And this is something we don't have the chart here, but we have seen on the rise as well as developmental disabilities are skyrocketing. So this lack of eye movement and lack of physical movement can be, at least on a curiosity level correlated to these issues. It's really, really something very interesting for us all to look at and think about this trend of moving into still quiet children versus, our rowdy, crazy kids that would run around the yard, be outside riding bikes, climbing monkey bars, doing this and that, because there wasn't anything else to do. Now with screens, that's what we do. It's easy for everyone. But it's one of those things that would make real sense to reconsider in our daily habits. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And there's a big reason to reconsider this, which we're going to share the next piece of data, which if this doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will.
Let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back, and we're talking about a pretty serious subject this time is screen time, brain health, and physical body health as well. Bill showed us a graph that showed that from 2007 to 2025, screen time has gone from less than 2 hours a day or no hours a day to 10 hours a day. We're talking about kids, but as adults, we're just as guilty of it because we're sitting at computers. And when we're not at our computers, we have our eyes down looking at our cell phone. So let's share with everybody a little bit about how this is so limiting. One of the things is that when our eyes move far left and far right, we gain perspective, right? This is a known thing. When elderly people, when their eyes stop moving, they lose the ability to see another point of view, like they're stuck in their ways, right? We hear this, we see this. When the eyes don't go up, we stop having real ideas and inspiration. We stop being able to expand who we are, expand our thoughts, expand our consciousness. So if you think about that, just those two things, what has happened to people in these last 20 years? We are more divided than ever. Our political views are so stuck in their ways, right?
Right.
We have seen all kinds of other beliefs, even religion, even diets, politics is one of them, get very, very rigid, where we just cannot see any other way, right? And we will argue to the death for our point. Where, I don't know if you remember this, Bill, but I do. I remember back in the day, back in the good old days, how we could chat about anything. We had conversations about things. We talked with people, and it was really fine to have opposing opinions. So what do you think about this? Do you think this lack of eye movement has contributed to these rigid ways of thinking?
Well, absolutely. And here's the evidence for it. This chart here is the evidence of what Liz is talking about. This is the data from the CDC, the NIMH, and this data, that's the National Institute of Mental Health. And what this is from 2007 to 2025, the actual diagnosed anxiety and depression rates in the United States for teenagers. Now, as you can see, this is like an absolute perfect marriage with the adoption or the number of hours that the kids, the teenagers, are spending on these smart devices. It is amazing to see a one-to-one correlation. This is I'll go and share the other screen so you can see. Here's the first one. Here's the rates of depression and anxiety from 2007. You can see how it perfectly ascends.
Well, people on radio won't be able to see. So what we have is that, per 100,000 people in 2007, it was just above maybe that 3,000 mark. 3,000 out of 100,000 teens would suffer from or report being suffered from anxiety and depression. In 2025, you have over 7,000 per 100,000 people that are suffering from anxiety. So that is what the chart that we're looking at says.
And these are the only diagnosed ones. There's obviously much greater. So this is super important data. But it's not just teenagers, right? That is just one segment of society. It's all of us. Anywhere we go, we see this, and people's eyes being fixed and down. The solution is fairly simple, and that is to get our eyes moving, to look in a different direction than straight down. Turns out that there's actually some schools now, high schools, that are forcing their kids to put their cell phones, they check their cell phones at the door. And what do you think might be happening at those schools? There is a significant decrease in depression and anxiety by checking their phones. They're experiencing a whole new reality, which is the reality that, Liz, you were talking about as you went about the business of high school and everything. You were interfacing with people and having fun and talking and shucking and jiving.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even in the classroom, you would be, looking over at your friend, passing notes, looking around, when you had to, you paid attention to the teacher or read a book. But for the most part, you were interacting with people and the eyes would have been moving naturally around, glancing at this, glancing at that, moving around. Things like sports and choir and art class and all of that, which still all exist, but to a lesser degree. As we've seen cell phones rise, I don't know that there's a correlation, but we started cutting out more and more things out of our curriculum, including athletics, PE, art, and music. Sports kind of still stayed in the upper grades, but a lot of schools cut out the actual classes that were PE, art. So the things that would naturally force the eyes into different positions have been extracted from the school as well. And if you think about kids in class who have cell phones, even though they're in class, your eye is going to be even farther down, snooping at that cell phone under the desk. But what's very interesting, if you think about it, even when we're on a cell phone, if you're scrolling or doing whatever on a cell phone, it's like the rest of the world doesn't exist for a minute. Your whole attention is there. It is very, very, very difficult to hold a conversation and scroll or be typing on your cell phone. A lot of people could read and hear something going on, that you could work and have music going on in the background. You could carry on a conversation while you're cooking. But looking at a cell phone in the way that we do with the head and neck position, I think the neck position is important too. We are all consumed into that device, and the world exists within that device. The world sort of stops existing while we're there, which is a terrifying thing for children being raised that way and having all of this time spent in the eye position, the perspective of whatever the internet says. And it creates our world. This is what creates our worldview, is now these opinions. And for parents, a lot of times we don't even know what opinions they're seeing. Like, it's so rapid how quickly it changes the feeds on the cell phones with the social medias. We don't even know. And so our kids become depressed and isolated and sad and rigid in their thinking. And we're not even aware that it's happening. So we really can't suggest that people stop using these devices, because there's a lot of great stuff that happens with these devices. Like, can you even imagine now not being able to reach your daughter wherever she is? You can track where she is on the computer, right? I mean, that's great. I love the GPS personally myself, and I love being able to look up information. So let's shift into what are some real practical things that schools could do, that teachers could do, that parents could do, that aren't eliminating the device, because we know that's not going to happen.
There is one very, very simple thing that they can do. And the first simple one is to do the very opposite of what the phone is doing. The phone gives us what we call our focal vision. That is pinpointed, focused vision in a very limited target area downwards. The opposite of that would be our expanded peripheral vision. Now, the expanded peripheral vision, so interesting. Liz Larson made this discovery about how the peripheral vision causes an involuntary relaxation response. And this was so significant because it was with severe kids that were suffering with autism. And in these severe cases, was able to stimulate the peripheral vision and an involuntary, just complete and utter relaxation like never before in their life, which ended up changing relationships at home. So this peripheral vision, just like the part of your vision downward is all focused on, the internal, the kinesthetic, the feeling, the body, maybe sadness and all those things. This peripheral vision causes relaxation. It causes new perspectives, a broadening of perspective. I love to use the example of everybody has been on vacation. Somewhere, even if it was in a town that you'd just never been to, and you were kind of excited to go there. And when you got there, whether it was a, train, plane, bus, or maybe you were hiking and it was a new area that you were like, oh my gosh, we're going to go to Tuolumne Meadows and Yosemite, and it's heard the greatest things about it. And when you get there, your eyes basically are expanded way out above the sides, down. You're taking it all in. And with that, there's a wonderful feeling. There's a wonderful feeling that happens. And you're open to these new experiences. You're open to new perspectives. It works in two directions. You shut down your peripheral, you shut down your emotional perspective, your mental perspective. This is not trivial. If you think about it, in the United States of America, we're polarized. We're polarized. And by that I mean we refuse to look at other people's perspectives now. Well, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're all shut down. We're looking down. We're focused in a very limited way. Imagine what would happen if we just use our brains differently through our eyeballs.
It's really true. We had a test that happened in 2019, the fall of 2019, where Cognomovement, the modality that Bill and I created, was in schools. And as it worked out, the kids just used it for literally 2 minutes a day, activating their learning centers, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and moving the ball from left to right. At that point, we really didn't even have them doing low to high in the beginning, just passing the ball from left to right and then right to left, back and forth in a circle, and calling out the color and maybe the symbol that they saw on the ball. The effect of this was staggering. You had kids that were the year before having so many behavioral problems, meltdowns in the classroom. Everybody was traumatized, including the teacher and the principals. In the 3 months that the Cognomovement was in this school, and they just used it a couple minutes a day when they came in from in the morning to start school and at lunchtime, we saw that all of those behavior problems disappeared. They just disappeared. And then the incidence of learning disability seemed to diminish almost entirely. You had kids who wanted to do homework, happier kids in general. The parents reported that kids were like asking to do their homework and that things had changed at home. How could 2 minutes a day of this kind of eye movement change things so dramatically? And the answer is that the brain is really, really pliable. And it also wants to use itself. It wants to have access to all the amazing things that the brain has to offer. With the eyes down and on screens, it's very, very limited. You're limited to the access you have to your whole self, to your own brain. But the brain is like, ooh, yeah, I really like that. And it quickly makes changes in the entire system. And I think that's a thing we should talk about next, is what changes it makes in the system of the body and not just the brain. So let's hear from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network, and we will be right back. And we're back. We're talking about screen time, brain health, life health, really, and how this limited eye position is creating so many problems in our life, including depression, anxiety, children ending their lives. So let's talk about the system that's created when we are able to move our eyes in full rotation. And Bill and I are always advocating all the way left, all the way right, from low to high and all the way up above the head. Now, we use a patented pattern called the Cognomovement system that expertly moves the brain through its own natural system of down-regulating the nervous system, meaning relaxing the system, and being able to see new perspectives. So the ability to change perspective becomes very, very easy. But it does some things to the physical body as well, right, Bill? Like it has the ability to relax the neck, has the ability to relax the muscles in the head. It has the ability to relax the body and get the body out of torsion. And then as a result of that, it actually improves your mobility, your balance, your athletic performance, right? It's an interesting thing, this whole system.
It really is. We talk about the problem state a lot. that, people are suffering. But there is the most interesting thing when someone gets into it and starts doing the exercises. Now, especially where they get in and do it a couple of times a day.
Mhm.
They're rewiring their brain in all new ways. And what happens is, well, the best way I can put this is, what part of your life is affected by your brain? Well, right, every part. Finances, relationships, your ability to physically move in the world, your balance, your creativity, your sleep, your mood, everything is impacted. So when this thing is firing like crazy, and balanced and firing, all the parts of it harmoniously working together, your body relaxes. You can literally run farther if you're into running. You get stronger. Your ability to figure out a problem, because you have access to multiple perspectives without trying.
It expands the whole world, right? When you have you have access to multiple perspectives, to many, many perspectives, and not only just access to them, because we have access to them, we just reject them, but the ability to take them in and consider, right? The ability to pivot your perspective on a dime, that's an agile mind. The great scientists of old, this is who they were. They had the ability to ask what else is possible again and again and again and again, right? They had the ability to consider that what I think I know now may be not it at all. There may be another answer entirely. If we don't have eye movement, if we don't have that ability to access the parts of our brain that can consider other things, as a society, we don't really move forward. We've got some people that are doing this, but it's becoming more and more and more limited. People are entering these kind of uh, jobs and education that really expand your consciousness, expand your reality, expand your belief systems at a far lower rate, because they just don't believe in anything anymore. They think there's no future. So many kids think there's no future. That's what they say their depression is about. I heard today that many young people never plan to get married. They don't think they'll ever find anyone because of this isolation feeling. Many of them think that they'll never succeed in life because of this same kind of singular focus. So it's massively important. And not only that, it feels amazing, at least to me, to have new ideas, new perspective, to expand what's possible for yourself. And the interesting thing is, it's super easy to do. The Cognomovement system, second graders can do it. We've had people do it with babies, right? So one of our practitioners just told us about a story where they're teaching a 5-month-old to do a little bit of sign language. And so they have her moving her eyes, and they saw her brain process moving the eyes left and right, looking at the hand, and then doing the sign language at 5 months old, right?
Yeah.
So anybody can do this. It's very, very simple to learn, and it's actually kind of fun. We have people use a ball, a brightly colored ball, in which they activate their learning centers while doing this little bit of movement and eye movement and stretch. But it has the capacity to bring the human back online. And I think that's the most important thing that we're talking about here, Bill, is bringing our human back online, becoming more of who we really are, restoring our whole self on the planet again. I think we become less and less when we're just so involved in this singular focus of an artificial world that we've created. And so do you think it's possible to restore this to kids, to people in general, by using eye movement, maybe by using Cognomovement, our system?
It is absolutely possible, because that graph can go in the absolute opposite direction.
Yeah.
You just need to do the opposite thing. It's pretty darn simple. You know, giving a break, and not eliminating, because the kids communicate these days, and you need them to be able to, hey, where is your kid, and that sort of thing. There's all kinds of value, and I'm not saying to eliminate it. Heck, I've got one, my daughter's got one, and that's the way I want it. What I don't want is, I want her to be happy, to thrive, to have great relationships, and the people around her to do the same thing, because it's a community. These, they all support each other, and if they're all happy and they're all like dynamic minded and having the fun that kids have, it's great for everybody. Imagine being the only one that's happy and not depressed whenever all your friends are. It's like, oh well, God, that ain't no
You're
good.
kind of a weirdo.
So we really need to get, this is a village, and we need everybody to start, just take a break and move, do the basic Cognomovement movements. It will actually stimulate the brain in different ways. And the interesting thing about this is that you will find the area that the brain is not working. And oftentimes it's literally like upwards, tick-tocking across the ceiling with your eyeballs as your head's level and you're looking all the way up, Well, when was the last time you did that? Probably never.
Yeah. There's another piece to this, Bill, that's really important that I want to share before we go, and that's the light that the cell phones emit, the blue light. There's a lot of evidence that it causes some damage to our sight and to our brains, and it's not great for us, robs us of some of our vitamins. But there's something that, along with eye position, that people can do, and that's getting sunlight in the eyeballs. It really massively increases our mood. It increases our health. It increases our vitamin D levels, which we don't get because we're inside on the phone all the time. So getting out and letting your eyes move upward, just looking at the trees, even if it's 5 minutes, if you're a person who could get outside and take a walk for 30 minutes, letting your eyes drift upward, it would likely change your life dramatically. If you're a parent with little kids, creating some time where you're outside with your eyes looking upward for even 5 minutes a day would change their life. A lot of people are not going to change their whole lifestyle, and that's why we recommend using the ball, because it forces the eyes to move in all of these directions. It forces the eyes to stretch. It encourages the body to move through its own natural system, ability to down-regulate the nervous system, so we're not in that state of, sadness and depression. It has the natural ability to lift the mood, get some endorphins, get some dopamine going. But I would have to say it's an artificial way to do it. There are ways to get out there and get moving, get some light in your eyes, get your body working again, becoming a whole human and not just a being that is attached to an electronic. I think as a society, if we're going to have all these electronics and AI, we need to be aware of this. We need to be informing each other as parents, as humans, to get out there, get your eyes moving and get your body moving, because your brain health depends on it. There's something we didn't mention, but it's true. The incidence of Alzheimer's, the incidence of declining brain health in elderly people has skyrocketed right along with our kids having depression, and right along with developmental disabilities increasing too. So we don't want to leave them out. Our elderly people are using cell phones. You know, they're using tablets, they're using TVs, they're sitting. You know, my grandma into her late 90s was up piddling around the kitchen all the time, doing this, doing that, messing with this, messing with that. She would spend some time reading the paper every day, but she didn't do a lot of sitting and doing nothing. Now, older people, we sit and watch TV, we sit and work on the computer, we sit and look at our phone, and then we're surprised about our mental decline. So this is another one of those things. If we can, as a society, make ourselves even once or twice a day, even for a minute twice a day, move our eyes, move our bodies, we might be able to reclaim our brain health, which I think is ultimately important.
It is. And it's so simple. The great news is that we have seen people with horrible situations rebuild their mental acuity, get back their athletic performance, get to levels of life and joy in all aspects, whether it's romance, finances, their balance, all of it is related to simply doing the Cognomovement work.
Yeah,
You make your brain better, you get a better life.
it's true. And people have regained their mobility and their mental acuity into their late 80s. From children, from little kids, all the way through their late 80s. No one is excluded from being able to regain a lot or even a little of their brain health and their mobility. It just simply, you have to know how to do it. You have to know the expert way to do it. And that's part of why we developed what we did, is the expert way to access that nervous system to help the body create these changes quickly. Well, we have run out of time for this week, Bill. So anybody who's heard our words, we hope that this has helped you consider moving your eyes more, helping the children and the elderly in your lives move their eyes more. And if you want to be able to do this for yourself, cognomovement.com/essentials is the way to go. And as we've said so many times, you can also be trained in this to become a practitioner and help people, just your family or professionally, make a career out of it. So we invite you to check that out too. All right, Bill, we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Until then, everybody, be safe and be well.